Hi everyone and welcome to Salk's first. I think we're the first ones. High five to us,
First
yeah?
episode,
Yeah,
yes.
first episode in defending democracy, right? And I think this comes at a very, very crucial time, particularly because this a series of podcasts is basically linked to the bilateral health agreements that have been signed by the Trump administration. Have you heard
Yeah.
about the America First Global Health Strategy?
I've seen it going around. Um, to be honest, I'm not a fan.
It's insane.
Yeah. And it's also one-sided.
It's very much one-sided, because I also paged through it, and even the whole languaging of America First, protecting the American people,
Yeah.
right, from outbreaks from other parts of the world,
Yeah.
right, Africa. It's wild, and what was particularly striking also, there's like a couple of the thematic areas that there are concerns or issues there that come out, but was particularly linked to data mining,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's your sense around that?
So, and I think a lot of us don't really care as much as we need to. And I always make an example of telemarketers, right? You know how annoying it can get when you get a call from someone trying to sell you insurance and you haven't applied for anything like that. And you ask yourself, where did they get my information? Where did they get my numbers or even know I have a car?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
This is that, but on a global scale. You're not giving it to just a single company, you're giving it to another country
a whole
without
government.
your consent, without you even knowing.
Yeah, and that is crazy because I know in Botswana, the government did say that, oh no, the data belongs to Botswana, right? And no one else. And it does not belong to anyone else. They actually did like a Facebook post. Because one of our articles actually spoke about that.
Yeah.
But there's a major concern also around what data is being collected and what are they doing with it. It's all under the guise, yes, of monitoring disease control and
Yeah.
all. But it's like, what else, right? Because what is pretty interesting also is that the U.S. government is signing, in addition to the memorandum of understandings that they're signing, there's this thing that they call the data sharing agreement, right? And it's like the whole. I don't know much about law, but if I just page through it, I'll be like, oh, okay, it's okay, right? There's not like much to worry about. But if you dive deep into it, it also says that there's a lot of issues and around accessibility also, and how the US will have access to
Yeah.
our health data,
Yeah.
right? It's like someone having the password to your phone.
Yeah. And at this point you can't even do anything about it. So the thing with them having access to your data is that you're no longer protected from local laws, right? And we'll speak about that a bit in the next episode.
Yeah.
But basically, once your information gets into US jurisdiction, they have access, they have rights to do with it whatever. They can store it for a long time, they can sell it off to pharmaceutical companies, they can even just keep it there, right? And the other issue is they won't just, there's a risk that they might not just use it for health reasons. It could be used for surveillance, it could be used for law enforcement, immigration, all of that.
Yeah.
So there's an issue around that, and it raises an even broader issue around accountability.
Yeah, and you're right about that also. And part of what the U.S. government says that the governments that sign these agreements with them should report on includes HIV status. So they want to know your HIV status. They want to know your TB history. They want to know probably where you got your previous STI shot, right? And even in the America First Global Health Strategy, they do talk about opening a file for each and every person. And so and as you mentioned, this is where surveillance also comes in. They're collecting data, and one could say in today's geopolitical world, data is power. It's
It is.
leverage.
It
Imagine
is.
the US having control.
It's sad because the other thing that they sort of promise in these, MOUs is that, okay, we're gonna use this data to try and, like you say, control disease outbreaks, all of that. Try and bring vaccines. The problem is, nowhere in these MOUs is there a guarantee that the raw data that we give them and they use to, let's say, find a cure for monkey flu, there's no guarantee that that vaccine is going to come back to us,
No.
or that we're not going to pay triple the amount,
That's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah. And also, there's a thing where they sort of then want to prioritize US pharmaceutical companies, right? And it's there in the name, the
Yeah.
America First Health, all of that, right? So it bears the question, why now?
Yeah. Why now? Right? I mean, they play by their own rules. It's really about America's priorities, right?
Yeah.
And even in the wording, it says that this strategy, this plan, this framework that they're busy implementing now is to make America stronger, more prosperous, the number one nation. How do you become the number one nation? By having power over others. How do you have power, in this case, our data? They're coming to collect our... First they came for the minerals. Now they're coming for our information.
Yeah, and it's funny that you also mentioned the minerals, because in some of these MOUs, there's a condition that, okay, we'll give you funding, you give us, that data, and also access to your extractive minerals, right?
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
it's also another power play to say, we have the money,
Yeah.
you give us your data and your minerals, and then we can decide what we do with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even with the whole funding thing, it's not... So there's a clause that says even governments would then have to self-fund going forward. So it's not necessarily a fund where, like we've seen in previous years, where they would give you funding for 5 years or 10 years, all of that.
Yeah.
Sort of then puts our governments under strain. Which again bears the question, why are our governments not prioritizing their own citizens like the US is?
Yeah. I think it's a strategic power play also. And if we had to take it a couple of steps back, and this is something that the US will not admit to or talk about how they crashed the health system, the global health system.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Right. And by crippling that, it means they came back now with this plan. And now they have us all cornered. And how many African countries are suffering? How many African countries' health system are currently on the brink? And now they want to claim that, we'll give you medication if you give us your data or give us access to your data.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's sort of like them setting the house on fire and then coming back, putting out the fire and say, hey, we just did that. Pat us on the back.
it's that what do they call it? The savior mentality thing.
Yeah, the savior complex.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as well. I mean, there's so many questions that we have, so many theories that we have, and we're still finding out. We're still learning because every day something is happening, right? I think also part of what we'll talk about also in this series is linked to protecting personal information. So that's an interesting conversation. So please, do stay tuned. I don't know, but before we end this, I just would like to give a shout out to Kenya, because I think that this is why I love the people of Kenya, because their government had actually signed on to this MOU.
Yeah.
And then the activists, everyday people saw red flags, especially that's linked to information, data sovereignty, data privacy, and they actually approached the courts, and the courts halted the implementation of this MOU, and I think that's really great. So big ups to them, and to Zambia also, and Zimbabwe for saying, I almost said like a bad word, but yeah. And I hope like a lot of governments follow suit also to say, I know it's a give and take, right?
Yeah.
So is any agreement, but to what extent though?
Yeah, because I think the last thing that we need is to find ourselves under America's thumb.
Well,
That's a worse position to be in,
yeah,
especially now with everything that's happening globally, with geopolitics and all of that.
yeah,
Yeah, big ups to Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe for saying no, and hopefully, like you said, other countries follow suit.
yeah, and yeah. Let's hope our data stays home. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've got a question from the side.
Yes, yes. We have an audience, by the way.
Yeah, so, I mean, what message do you want to send out there to your everyday African people who say that, they don't care if their data is taken, it's already taken anyway. What do you want them to know? Like, what is the importance of protecting their data, and what is at risk here when we talk about data mining and another state owning data that belongs to the other state? What do you want people to know? The importance of this conversation.
So for me, I think the biggest thing here is privacy, right? For example, you wouldn't want your neighbor to know what's going in your house, every single detail, how many teaspoons you have, how much nsima you eat. Why would you want a whole country to have information about you, your health status, all of those personal things? And the problem is, yes, we might not care now because it doesn't look like a big issue. But a lot of times, calamity comes because we were too relaxed or we didn't see the need of this being a big thing. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we often find ourselves being, what's the word? It's not proactive, reactive.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think the average citizen should actually be worried, should actually not want their information in the hands of the US, especially without checks and balances or even a way of holding them accountable.
Yeah, and I mean, additionally, because if you look at the data sharing MOUs, there are also clauses where artificial intelligence comes into play, right? And for governments to have access to your information, my information, even if we don't care, that also opens up to another thing that's linked to AI, whether it is cloning us, whether it is using our voices, whether it is using our information to, who knows, create trends or other stuff, right? And the sad and worrying thing is also, if things go wrong, there's only so much the law can do, especially linked to artificial intelligence and and the, what do you call, what's the legal term, and the law, that guides it, and guidelines and stuff like that. But I think, as much as, and people did say on social media, I have seen comments where people were like, oh no, I have nothing to hide, they should take our information as long as you get medication. And it's like, not really. I don't think you would want your information in someone else's hands, in Trump's hands. Like, terrible, right? So yeah, I think we should all be concerned. We should all be up in arms. We should all demand accountability from our governments, from our health ministers, from whoever, from Parliament also, and demand to even see these MOUs. If your country has not signed it, if your government hasn't signed it, encourage them not to sign it. I think there's other ways that we as Africans also can, if it's self-fund, for our health and so forth. We've done it before, and I think we still can. So yeah, we don't need to be reliant, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think what the recent couple of years have shown us is that actually being reliant on the US is a problem, because they can then decide we're gonna take our money back.
Yeah.
So,
So
like you're saying, I think it's time for Africa to stand on its own feet and, rely on itself.
yes, we can do it. We can own our data. We can create our own systems. We can
Yeah.
build our own health information systems that can do amazing things. So, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
We
This
did
was
it.
a beautiful conversation.
I enjoyed it.
And without any cuss words.
No. All right. Up next is more information around personal
Protecting personal information.
information. Yes.
Yes.
All right.